This is Women Driving the Industry with Bridget Fitzpatrick.
Hello, everyone. Today on Women Driving the Industry, I'm thrilled to welcome back Alexi Venneri, co-founder and CEO of DOS Technology. Alexi has built her company from the ground up, creating a leading consumer data and experience SaaS platform. She guided the business through massive challenges like the recession and the pandemic, and today, DOS supports automotive dealers, OEMs, and partners with AI-powered communication tools that are reshaping how customers and dealers engage. Beyond the tech, Alexi is equally passionate about people. She leads with a company culture that prizes empathy, creativity, and a whatever-it-takes mindset. Through initiatives like DOS Cares and monthly giving to community charities, she's making giving back central to what they do. Alexi has earned recognition as one of the top women leaders in North American Automotive, and for good reason. Today, I want to go deeper into her journey from corporate life to startup, funding challenges, and culture building, and how she stays grounded and optimistic through it all. Alexi, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Now, you've been on CBT News many times, and we've talked a lot about what you do at DOS and what you do for the industry. But today, I'd really like to talk about you and your background and what makes you tick. So today, Alexi, let's start with maybe your entrepreneurial journey. Can you take us back to the beginning and where it all started?
Sure. Well, I didn't actually choose to be in automotive, but I was initially living in Seattle, and my neighbor was starting a tech company, and that turned into Who's Calling. And I was actually working for the Seattle Mariners in marketing. I helped open the ballpark back in the day, and just always had a passion for marketing, but loved technology. So from there, I ended up being recruited to work at DealerTrack as the head of marketing and took them public, and I moved to New York. And then someone that we knew who was an actual investor at Who's Calling, Larry Van Tile, lured me to Arizona and really wanted me to partner with him to help all of his portfolio companies understand the power of digital media and really look at the data and the drivers behind online consumer behavior. So that's where sort of my passion for marketing and technology merged here in Phoenix, Arizona. And then the recession hit. And I had been running his digital agency at the time. And he was like, you know what, I'm going to just, with all the closures and everything happening with the recession, we're just going to put a pause on all advertising. And I was like, wow, okay, that's 100% of where our revenue was coming from. And I happened to go to the very first digital dealer. And I'd actually written a book called Balls, believe it or not, that talked about needing balls to be an entrepreneur and what it takes to start a business. But I never started one. And I started speaking to some great legends in our industry. Adam Sims was one of the gentlemen. And, it was just interesting talking about, well, what did I think at the time would be the most impactful thing we could do if I was going to start a business? And that's where the original idea for Digital Airstrike started, because I saw what social media was doing. I saw that there were new ways to influence consumer behavior and really felt like we could build technology for the industry that would, sort of be like Switzerland, where we can fill in the gaps of consumer communication, help them have a better customer journey, and also just help our dealers. I was very passionate about dealers because I spent so much time working with Larry Van Tile and his 87 stores and really understood how hard it is to be a dealer and how often they just get hit with so many vendors that are trying to sell them things. So I was more passionate about being a partner, and then also looking at the data and how we could influence consumer behavior and decisions and also help them have a better journey. So that's where it kind of all started. It was not a great time to start a business. It was during the recession.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got pregnant like a month later after starting the business and never had any children. But you know what? Do it all at once. So it worked out, and it's really been an incredible journey.
That is a great way to learn if you just dive right in and you were doing it all at the same time. So great way to learn for sure. Now, back in the early days, it was Digital Airstrike. At the time, how did you fund the business and keep going before it became so established? Did you bootstrap, outside funding? What did that look like?
Yeah, great question. It was 100% bootstrapped. So it was myself and 3 other co-founders. We all put in $25,000. So we only had $100,000 in the business. And it was kind of like, good luck. sink or swim.
Yes, yes.
Speaking of the deep end. So one of the other co-founders, Mark Rikus, he was great in helping me open a number of doors. He's always been consulting with a lot of businesses, also a former dealer, and he ran a lot of 20 groups. So Mark would help me, get some meetings, but it was really on me to sort of talk about our vision. And we were the very first company to ever monitor for online consumer sentiment and reviews. We also built the very first dealer retail survey. So before digital airstrike, it was just the OEMs, really at the time, mailing surveys after experiences. And then the dealers wouldn't know if a consumer had a bad experience until their CSI score was hit. So we're like, whoa, there has to be a better way. Why don't we have the retailer survey? And we built that very first technology. We also helped, for example, General Motors build their very first social media and reputation management program. And that's where it started. But it was at my kitchen table. I did every job in the company. We, of course, except coding. I'm not a developer. We outsourced the development at the time, and then eventually grew. And as we had more loyal dealers work with us, we were able to just establish, I think, a very loyal client base of dealers. And we always just listened to them to build out really cool technology to help them, really improve what they were doing on the marketing side, but also nurture those leads all the way through. So more leads would actually close. And that's been sort of our heart of always focused on that customer journey, but also the dealer journey. So we look at both sides, how to make both of their lives easier.
Nice. Now let's look at the other side for a second. We'll look at culture. Now you led DOS through some challenging times, like you said, the recession, the pandemic. Talk to us about how you led during those tough times and how you kept your team moving forward.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I was just excited when we first started to be able to hire some really smart people. And they were always college grads, and they always understood social media and were passionate about kind of helping those consumers. So that's how we started. And we had a great model that we weren't going to, overhire or, blow through cash and have to go raise an investment and then dilute the ownership and our equity. And we were just very mindful of that. But we were also really open to opportunities. So whether it was a potential acquisition we could make or merger, that helped us really expand what we were able to do in terms of the company, and also like our distribution model. We really still do have an inside sales and support team that we feel like all of us together in one building, which we never went away from, can best serve our dealers. But we also just looked for other companies that were maybe a bit smaller, maybe didn't have the funding and needed help. And is there a way that we could just really, through building a great company, maybe make them a part of, at the time it was digital airstrike, but as we grew, we really evolved that to DAS technology. So that, that's actually a culture point too, right? As you are acquiring or merging with other companies, and we've done 10 M&A transactions ourselves, all bootstrapped, all in-house without raising capital. You're building a team really from different companies, and to bring them together, we were very mindful of that culture. Same thing during COVID, when COVID hit. I'm Gen X, so it reminded me back in the day of like the AIDS epidemic or, things we've been through. And I just always wanted to be that steady force and not be overwhelmed, really look for innovative ways to keep our doors open and really help our dealers stay open. And that was, I'm so proud of that time, even though it was such a horrible time in terms of our country and disease and loss of life. It really made us get innovative and help our dealers be more innovative and find new ways to communicate with consumers. So things like suddenly you really did need appointments, for service visits, and you really had to practice and communicate what you were doing for social distancing. So we used all of our tools for that. We had a lot of innovative ways. We used things like our Power Text product to reach out and alert consumers, and it helped us evolve, I think, into a better platform, which today really is our CDXP platform, the consumer experience and data platform. But we just, kept our heads down. We kept our offices open. We, did all the things you would, like air purification and wore masks, and didn't have a single case of in-office transmission. Nice. So we felt like if our dealers were open, we had to be open and we had to be there for them.
Mentorship and support systems can make such a difference in a leader's journey. Can you talk to us, maybe tell us who's been in your corner along the way and how have they shaped your career?
Sure. Well, I would say one of my co-founders, Adam Sims, has always been in my corner. He is just such an innovator and I think pretty well known in our industry. His own personal story has inspired me, literally, kind of a rags to riches situation where his mom in his family was the one that was the first person involved in automotive, selling cars when he was a kid, and then got him involved. And just to hear how passionate he is about doing a great job, doing the right thing, he's always inspired me. I also like to think about my days in New York with DealerTrack. I had two great mentors, Mark O'Neill of DealerTrack and then Cox Automotive. He's now on the board of CarMax. And then Vince Passione was the president there when I joined. And they were just so great. They came from more the banking side and Chase Manhattan and technology companies. And that was great for me to really understand the whole perspective, including the F&I side of the business. Yeah. And then, of course, working with Larry Van Tuyl to work with such an innovator, working with the Van Tuyl Group, which is now part of Berkshire Hathaway, was incredible. It was like a PhD in automotive. I think too many vendors think they understand dealers, but until you're in the stores every day and you really see what goes on from their perspective, I think it's hard to truly be a partner. And that was the best thing because it happened just before I started Digital Airstrike. And just understanding how the business really worked sort of humbled me. I think at DealerTrack and maybe Who's Calling, I thought I knew, but until you're in those stores, you don't really know. So I think it's really built our company into a better partner for the industry, which has been great.
No doubt about it. Now, what is the best piece of advice that you've been given, whether it be from Adam Sims or someone else?
I think that the best advice was to not be afraid to try things, but then also don't be afraid to say no. So, as an entrepreneur, at least me, I've always been driven to try new things and figure out what hasn't been done before and look for ways to make things better for our clients. But when something's not working or it just doesn't feel right, it's okay to shift course and pivot. And I really think being bifocal when you look at that, something you maybe need today maybe isn't what's going to work long term and vice versa. So you have to look at both sides of that coin. And that's been helpful. I try to instill that in our culture that we're going to be innovative and try new things and be first to market when it makes sense, but also know when we have to shift and adjust, whether it's something that would be better for one of our OEM partners or a dealer group or a dealer, just to really be open to that and not be afraid to try new things, but also, sometimes you just have to stop something to start something new.
Yes. Now, the fear of failure can be so paralyzing at times. So that is great advice for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Yeah.
Now, both automotive and technology are traditionally male-dominated industries. What has your experience been like as a woman building a career and a company in those environments?
Well, I think it's always interesting. I think I bring a very different perspective. Luckily, I grew up with all brothers. And I seem to have always, for whatever reason, worked in male-dominated industries, certainly in sports, then technology. That wasn't necessarily just automotive focused and then automotive. I just love it. Coming originally from the East Coast, I feel like I'm direct and decisive. And I think a lot of men are the same way. So I really enjoy that about it. But I also think I bring a different perspective in terms of maybe I'm a little more bifocal. I get to see what's in front of me, but also the bigger picture and maybe juggle a few more things, not just be so laser focused as well. So I think it's a good combination. I'm very comfortable in our industry. I love our industry. I was once asked by a board member kind of during the Me Too movement, have you ever felt weird? Has anything happened to you in the automotive industry? And I said, no. Maybe it's because it's always been so family dominated. There's a lot of still families running a lot of dealerships and dealership groups. I think it actually does really embrace women. It doesn't feel like it if you're looking at it from the outside, but it's just such a great industry. And once you're in it, it's really hard to leave. Yeah. So I've always felt like, a part of the industry, and I'm really proud to help, I think, move it forward in a couple unique ways.
Yeah. That is great to hear. I haven't heard that from everyone, and it's so nice. We have come so far. We still have far to go, but we have really come a long way in the industry. So I'm really happy to hear you say that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I just love it. It's the best industry.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's great.
I would say that as a woman, if you are looking at automotive or how you grow your career, you really do need to be direct. You have to know what you're talking about. Never show fear. I think so many people in this industry, the dealers, the OEMs, we have a lot going on, and maybe there's just a little less patience if you're not direct, if you haven't done your homework. Like, that's probably the best advice I could give somebody that's looking to grow their career as a woman in automotive.
And very, very good advice, because it takes a lot for anyone jumping into the automotive industry, but for sure, that's great advice.
Yeah, be organized, be passionate about what you do. Don't be afraid to work the same crazy hours that your clients are.
Yeah, you have to.
Like you never sleep. So, you got to want it, you got to work for it, but the rewards are huge when you do.
Yeah. Now, along those lines, I have a love-hate relationship with this next question. I love it because the answer is always so helpful for the moms out there, but I hate it because it's not one that we do ask men. You're extremely busy running your business. You're a mom, as you mentioned. Talk to us about how you maintain that balance in all areas of your life.
Yeah, it is true. It should be asked of everyone. We're all parents first,
we're all balancing.
Right? No matter your gender. I think just the timing of when we started Digital Airstrike, now DAS Technology, we didn't have an office at first, and I was working from home. So luckily I had a baby at the time that did sleep in. He and I are both night owls, not morning people. So it kind of worked that I worked from home in the morning. I was working, but I was there. And then at the time we had a nanny come in the afternoon. Nice. It sort of worked for me with the work-life balance that more so than being a mom, I think there's just a lot more pressure put on women to look a certain way, dress a certain way, get our hair done. And it honestly has always annoyed me. It takes us longer to get ready in the morning, and that's been a pain for me. So I kind of always just got in a pattern where I would get ready for work at lunch instead of taking a lunch, and I would work in the office in the afternoon. And that, for me, I mean, it was a choice, but it's always been that way. It's a luxury, I think, because I did start this business. But it's just kind of worked for me. And that might mean that I do work until 7 or 8 in the office. I'm still working, even if I'm at home. And that balance, that hybrid, has just been, I think, great. I didn't take a day off from work when I had our son. It just worked out that nice. I was working, he was early, I had board meetings, I just always kept working, and it just became a part of what I do. And I think now for him, it's just what he's used to. Both of his parents work, we're both available for him when he needs it. And he's just used to it. I think hopefully it's inspired him to not have so many maybe gender biases as he goes on in his career.
So what do you think we can do as an industry to attract more women into automotive?
Well, I think what you're doing now is great. Featuring them. I was also recently really blessed to be featured by Automotive News as the top 100 leading women. Yes. I would love, though, at some point, it doesn't have to be gender related. Like, I want to be on the list of 100 top executives in the industry, right? But I think the more that other women see that this is such a great industry, the more they hear about it, they can learn about it. Maybe it's a little less intimidating. I also think internships are great, whether it's a family member or not. Just let them come in and see different facets of the business. I think that's really important, and have them try different things, and just be encouraged to come on in. It's not a scary business. It's not like people might think. And our industry is so innovative. We're usually the first to try new technology and implement new systems, and it's just fantastic.
It is. Now, you've been at the helm here for years, and you've taken DAS to such great heights so far already. What do you see for DAS and yourself in the next 5 years?
Well, I would say that one of the most exciting things I mentioned already is AI and where it's going. I think everyone's talking about it. We've got a couple different paths how we're using it, and that to me is really, really exciting. There's a lot more ways leveraging AI. We can do one-to-one communication with the consumers. And it's really interesting, some of the early stats that we're seeing with like one-to-one AI videos where we leverage data. There's no human involved other than we're making sure the systems are working properly, almost like air traffic traffic controllers. But we can see a lot more data and trends now within a consumer record, and then make sure that based on not only what we know about them through data, but really how they engage with the messages we send them, we're continuing to refine and make that message relevant. One example is that when we leverage AI and the use of one-to-one video messaging to consumers, our dealers are seeing on average 70%, that's 70, more service RO revenue. So that's really exciting.
Yes, that is.
Because it's relevant. It's talking to them. It's saying, Jamie, I know you had this declined service, or Jamie, there is this recall, but don't worry, we do have the parts in stock. Click here to schedule. Very relevant to them and their journey with their vehicle. So that's been exciting for us, and we're going to keep developing that, as well as refining how we leverage data, always within data privacy regulations. But that's been the best thing. And as a lifelong marketer, that we can continue to develop tools to nurture those customers, and help every dollar the dealers spend maybe on advertising just go that much further, because they're already generating leads. They already have a lot of data. They've gathered things between their CRM and DMS. How we can get in there and just make it work harder, those dollars go that much further, and then get better results. That's really exciting, without taking away the human aspect, right? We still want the dealers to have the test drive or explain how great the vehicle is upon delivery, and continue to build that rapport with those consumers. But by using technology, they're going to have more time to do that. So that's exciting for us. And we're also, just continuing to evolve kind of the campaigns themselves. We're getting ready to announce, I can't announce it, a really cool endorsement and partnership we have with a very well-known celebrity that is going to work with us around kind of that customer journey, and how his image and likeness can actually endorse the top dealers in our industry, so that they can work with him as well through DAS. So just some really cool things coming up. But stay tuned, look for our press releases, and lots of exciting things coming up for DAS technology.
Very exciting. You're always thinking ahead, and you're such an innovator, and one of the reasons why I wanted you on this show. So thank you so much for the time that you've given us today. It's been great, and we look forward to talking with you here again on CVT News soon.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys, and we love you right back.
Yes.
Thanks for watching Women Driving the Industry with Bridget Fitzpatrick.